Hey y'all, it's Friday, and this is Alive and Sober with Reno C. Today we step into the heart of the battle no parent ever wants to face. Watching your child slip deeper and deeper into addiction, knowing you can't control it, and knowing what tomorrow holds. My good friend Char opens up about her son Matt, the red flag she saw, the night she worried, and the love that refused to quit. If you're fighting for someone you love, or you've carried the weight of the fear of a child caught up in addiction, you're not alone. God is close to the brokenhearted, and he walks with parents who feel helpless. There is hope even in the darkest chapters. Here's how that conversation went. Welcome to Alive and Sober with Reno C, where real life, recovery, and faith collide. What if you lived every parent's worst nightmare, not once, but twice? Char did, and her story will break your heart and lift it up all at the same time. 2 Corinthians 1:4, he confronts us in all our troubles so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves have received from God. Today, my guest is Char Cole, who has been through, I gotta be honest, this is hard for me, not nearly for you, but I wanted to start off by saying, you are so brave for talking about this, for bringing something out in the light that I don't think is brought out enough. In that, you know, we can only help those, and this is just my opinion, right? But we can, this podcast is basically broken people helping broken people.
Right.
Nobody knows everything about everything. It's just kind of telling our stories. And those are the hardest one to tell when they're true, and you've lived it. But I truly believe that that is a foundation to build off of. In alcoholism, you know, we call it rock bottom, or in addiction, it's rock bottom. But the rock bottom is the strongest surface to build back from. And emotionally, the foundation of the rock, it's almost a good place to be. And I don't know what it's like to hit a rock. You know, my world and my thoughts are in addiction, but emotionally, you have been on a roller coaster that I can't imagine what it's like. Before we get into that, I just wanted to say this because I wanted to say our connection. Arnie Cole is your husband,
Right.
Who runs back to the Bible. Now, I know God winks are like my favorite thing. Ever since I started kind of paying attention and you see them. So I come to Lincoln, Nebraska. I meet with Arnie. We sit down. We talk about starting to do this podcast, right? And we're talking about, and there's a lot of God winks in this, because we were talking about how are we going to get people to find out about this? Well, a day later, I got another project that's going to bring a lot of attention where I can speak about this, right? That was a little God wink that came out of nowhere. But we sit down, we're talking about family, we're talking about all this stuff. I love Arnie. I'm like, this guy is the greatest. I go 12-hour drive home to Murfreesboro, Tennessee. In our church, there's a bunch of people, and my wife is all involved. She does the funeral, does the food, so she knows everybody. But there's this couple that sits in front of us for like 2 years, Susie and Ben. We talked to them. Hey, what's going on? Hey, we moved from California, and we're doing this. Ah, yeah, it's great. Good to see you. Blah, blah, blah. We should get together sometime. Whoa, that would be a wonderful thing. So after I leave Lincoln and meeting with Arnie, I go back for the 4th of July. We're in the pool with a bunch of people that go to our church. And my wife goes, hey, tell Ben and Susie what you're doing. And I go, well, I know this sounds crazy, but I want to do this podcast about Jesus and addiction. Susie's like, that's a great idea. And I go, yeah, I'm doing it through this company called Back to the Bible. And she goes, in Lincoln? And I go, yeah. And she goes, do you know Char and Arnie Cole? And I'm like, I was just sitting with Arnie Cole trying to figure out about doing this podcast. She goes, oh, our favorite people in the world. We're from the same place in California, and bing da dang da boom da ding. And she started talking about you and about Arnie and about your place and all this stuff. And I was sitting there going, sometimes you don't know if you're on the right direction when you're standing on the ledge going like, do I go for it? I'm still having questions. And then I see them And they're like, oh, we know Arnie. They're the greatest people in the world. And I'm like, well, now somebody else thinks Arnie's the, you know what I mean? I was like, this is so great. But then, of course, I take a picture of us in the pool, and I'm like, this is going to freak Arnie out. I mean, they knew him from California. What are they doing in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, sitting in a church with this guy? I take the picture, I send it to Arnie, and he's like, that's so nice. Happy 4th of July. And I go, Arnie, look at the picture. He was asleep, and he just went like this. Yeah. And then we're like,
he showed it to me.
He showed you. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah,
it was like the perfect. So every once in a while, God just tosses that little thing out there that's like, you're on the right path.
Yep.
You know,
they're pretty neat people.
They are neat people, and they love you guys.
Oh, I love them.
So sweet. So, I come from, obviously, the recovery world, so we look at things that can be somewhat different, right? You had 2 kids that fought this disease. One who I just met, who's crushing it, and just the greatest dude.
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, you lost one, right?
Right.
One thing does not define somebody's life. So would you tell us about your son, what he liked? Like, was he a ball player?
Yeah. Well, he was my oldest, and I had him when I was like 21, so he and I kind of grew up together, I guess.
Sure.
He was very perfectionistic, self-conscious, smart, really smart, never had to try. But that was a hard thing for him. When he had to try, he would just give up. So, you know, he did great. He had to go through a lot of stuff with me and his dad. And that was hard for him. I mean, it's hard for kids.
Yeah.
Divorce is a horrible, horrible thing. And it happened right at the time, 13 or so. Yeah, it's not a good time.
No, it's not.
No, and then he had a hard time making friends, and there were different backgrounds. They went to a Christian school, and unfortunately with divorce there's always sides, and there's always talking, and kids hear it.
Yeah.
And I think it was awkward for him for being a self-conscious person. So he kind of moved from different friend groups.
Right.
And that's who he was to me. He was I say that when he was born, it was like, that's the first time I knew what love was.
Yeah.
Because, you love him so much.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so divorce is, so my parents were divorced too. They got divorced when I was 14, I think. Yeah. But I was at a military school living there, right? So as I got into my addiction, my mom, to this day, I know she second guesses every single thing she ever did. Mm-hmm. And at some points, I don't think, if I'm being truthfully honest, and Mom, I love you more than anybody in the world, but I think sometimes she's not sure that I was actually an alcoholic. Oh. Like, to this day.
You talk yourself out of it.
Yeah, and I think, like a lot of people go, there were no signs. There are, but we don't know what to look for. Yeah. Like, I know my poor kids, they can't get away with it because I've done it. Like, I can tell from them the smallest thing. But we don't know how to approach it, because as a parent, I would think, and I would love your input on this, but as a parent, you think you have control of your kids and you don't.
No.
So what is, like, this is a hard question to ask and not
That's okay.
cry. What is it that is in a mom or a dad that may not want to see signs and kind of what would be some signs? You know, I mean, I know this is hard.
No, well, it's weird because it's having to deal with his talk about his father, and I can't really talk about him.
Don't. Yeah,
but he never saw him, and he was more the one. You just show me that you found that, or did you see him do that? And I don't know. I knew he was in trouble just right away.
Yeah.
He changed. To me, it was a switch. But that doesn't mean I didn't blame myself.
Sure.
Yeah, because I thought, oh well, I did this to him because
not right.
Right, and so and even when we put Matt into rehab, his father didn't want him to go. So it was at the time where all of his friends were graduating from high school, and I just told Arnie I feel like such a failure. And he goes, well, if Matt was going to Harvard, would you feel like that had anything to do with you? And I said, no. He goes, it's not all your fault.
Right.
But I did. But I also did Al-Anon, so that helped me do what I had to do. I had to fly a very upset boy who stole a Playboy magazine in the airport. sat next to me on the plane.
I gotta say, I think we might have been friends.
and I had to check him in by myself and put him in detox, and it was horrible. And his father didn't want to do family week, but I took our other two boys, his stepbrother and his brother, and we went to family week, but he had to go to a halfway home or a secondary home.
Sure.
So that was almost the worst day because I didn't know how to drive in the snow then, and I had a little rental car and I had to drive somewhere in Montana to somewhere else. I don't know. Anyway, in a whiteout. Went off the road, 3 angry teenagers staring at the back of my head, going really slow, and oh man, he was very mad at me. They all were mad at me.
Well, sure.
And that was a hard thing to deal with because you want to be liked. You want your kids to love you.
And I was just going to say, I've been divorced also. I said my parents got divorced. Right. I've been divorced also. And the dynamic in it is, here's what I felt like. I felt like, dude, you screwed up. Mm-hmm. Now, you got to make it up to him. Mm. And I was living in like this single dad apartment with like a Charlie Brown Christmas tree, and there's booze bottles everywhere, and I'm like, I'm gonna make this the greatest Christmas ever, which was made worse because I told them the whole year I had done this movie called Jingle All the Way 2, and I told my kids, I'm like, next Christmas is gonna be better. I'm going to be in a Christmas movie and we're going to watch it together.
Oh, yeah.
And then we all get together to watch the movie, and it's about a dad that got a divorce and is trying to make it up to his kid by finding him this bear. And my son is like, Dad, did you read the script before you told us to watch this movie? And I'm like, Merry Christmas.
Oh,
you know,
boy.
like, but there's so much guilt that you want to be loved, you want to be liked, so you do things and you make decisions, and in retrospect, you're like, what the heck were you thinking, man?
Yeah.
You know, but there's also that thing that my dad and I didn't get along at all growing up, right? I mean, the one thing, he would show up to anything I did. It could be 10 hours away. He'd be there. But for some reason, we didn't mesh, right? And it took me getting older and realizing how freaking hard it is. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, I could sit there and pepper him with everything that he ever did to me, but my kids can do that to me too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that dynamic of divorce, and you pick a side, like as a kid, but all you're doing is trying to get away with stuff. So you're like,
yeah.
If I go here, I can do whatever I want. And then if they get mad at me, I'll go over here.
And that happened a lot.
It did?
Yeah.
And then you have different parenting, which, you know, yes, I'm divorced, and I can tell you it is a sin for a reason. It's not even just the divorce that I did. It's the ripple effect of everything that I couldn't see at the time. Mm-hmm. Now, on the same token, I do believe that when we have a kid and we give our kid to God, they're God's kid.
Right.
Right? And we can do whatever we want. But I've learned through my own stuff, like my will and my thoughts and what I want to happen, 9 times out of 10, it's never going to happen the exact way I wanted it.
Right.
But it does end up later on. But when we're younger, it's hard to make those decisions and have any wisdom and, you know, all that stuff. So would you, and if there's anything that you don't want to, but would you share some of the signs you saw? Because there's a lot of, when I speak at like a rehab center or something, I was telling you earlier, they're babies in there.
Yeah.
Like they're 17, 18, and I listen to their stories, and these are people whose parents had the money to put them in rehab. There's a whole nother world of this where there isn't, but people are always looking for a sign. They're always like, is my son doing this? And I know it's only your experience that you went through, but.
You know, this is a period of time. So probably starting, you know, late teens, and Matt died when he was 23. So I started, well, you know, he would go places and sneak booze. He got really reckless, hung out with friends. They did tons of stuff. And when I got I'm jumping ahead, but when I got the toxology report, it was like, oh my gosh, he did all of that and all of that. One of the biggest things, though, he still came over, and it was fun, and we had a good time. I mean, you could tell he had been using something, but he would say, oh, I hurt my ankle. And he would go somewhere and get Oxy or something. But, and that was a big red flag for me, because it happened more and more. And he wasn't working. He hung out with, on an Indian reservation. Yep, and with a bunch of wealthy Indians who went gambling and did everything and lived really kind of outside the law.
Yeah.
And so I didn't see him unless, you know, he wanted to. When his last birthday, I took him shopping, and then we went, I think, to Sizzler for lunch. That's where he wanted to go, and then he went and showed me his place on the reservation. And he sits on the car and goes, Mom, I really can't believe I'm 23. And I said, well, you know, I had you when I was 21 and your brother when I was 23. I go, does that count for anything? He goes, yeah, I guess I have to forgive you. Kind of like, yeah, you had a right to, you made mistakes. Yeah. And he knew I loved him. I mean,
that's a gift.
Yeah, he knew I loved him. And he may have been angry. I think he worked through some of that, but that was also an excuse. He needed to hold on to that so that he could use. And
it's almost like holding on to a pain, and then as an alcoholic, we blame everybody for everything,
right.
and nothing's our fault. And I think a lot of that is the addiction, because the turmoil in your head is freaking chaos.
Yeah.
That whole serenity prayer thing is just to try to get your head, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Down to, and something else I'm finding that is so much different than when I was younger. Like when I was younger, it was like, I smell pot coming out of that kid's bedroom, right? Pills, nobody knows you're doing pills. Yeah. Nobody, everybody uses the restroom. In, out, hey, I'm sober. Mm-hmm. It's a weird little underbelly of this stuff, and they're so easy to get.
Yeah.
And our kids are flushed with this stuff. Like online, there's these Snapchat drug overdose. There's all this stuff going on. And I'm scared to death. One of my kids is dealing with something that I think is highly influenced from things online. Mm. It's I'm not at a place where I want to talk about it, but it's something that I firmly believe that kids are going online saying, I like this, I like this, I like this, I like this. What am I? What do I do? What do I do? And there's people in these little answering things, and there's, you can get drugs online easily. Everything is so accessible. So it's the old days where it's like, why does my car smell like pot? Those days are gone.
Right.
It's like the kid doesn't smoke it, he eats it, and he bought it at the corner store. Or, he got it, and they put so much stuff on it. I saw a video of Pete Davidson, the guy that used to be on Saturday Night Live a long time ago. And he was talking about how, like, years ago, there was 4.4 to 6% THC in pot. Now the stuff you buy medically is like 39. So even these rehab centers have people, or somebody's putting fentanyl in the weed, because what does a drug dealer want to do?
Right.
They want you to come back and spend more money. You think they care about slipping something to your kid?
No.
That is the freaking devil, man.
Well, Matt got his from a relative who freely shared with him. Somebody much older who knew better. And I think he did it frequently. They used to drink together, and who knows what he did the night before. But that, without him knowing it, or, train goes down the track, it was a time release drug. So
he kept eating them?
I
It didn't do anything.
I wasn't.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
I wasn't there.
Right.
That's what the first responders told me. They felt like what happened, because they smelled alcohol, and then I think the toxology, I don't know, time release. So he kept getting the shots. So in the morning, somebody, this is a hard part, said he wasn't breathing. So instead of calling 911, they called his dad. And instead of calling 911, this is another sad thing about shame and addiction, is people hide it and hide the truth. Instead of calling 911, he went to check to make sure. So that's another 10 minutes. And then he called 911. And we were at a car wash with my daughter, and somebody who I didn't know drove through at a Del Taco in California and said, you have to go to the hospital, Matt's blue, and he's in the emergency room. And his dad, and sometimes even his brother, say that it was his heart. Still that hiding it. So I know it wasn't.
I cannot even imagine like that pain. I could sit here and go, oh yeah, I understand. I don't understand. I don't understand.
No.
And other people don't, but there are a lot of, millions of moms just like you.
Yeah.
That this is something that isn't, we can try to hide it in our families and not, don't let anyone know that,
It is something that people don't talk about. You'll hear of a teenager passing away. Nobody says what it is. And it's the parents, if they don't want to talk about it, of course.
And I don't blame them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you have to talk about this.
Right.
But it takes an awful lot of courage to do it.
Well, the thing is, people don't want to be around you, especially your contemporaries or people who have kids.
Did you find that, like, friends and stuff?
Well, not like good friends like Susie. I had some friends like that, but people that had boys Matt's age or whatever, because you're their worst nightmare.
Yeah.
If it happened to her, it could happen to me. That's the thing.
We don't want to face what could very possibly happen, because what happened to your son could happen to any person out there right now, and it doesn't matter. Like, I know people who save to this day, and they're not addicts, but they save their pills after a dental surgery and stuff like that, and wait for a movie they want to see, and it's like, dude, it's so prevalent, but for some reason, it's like veteran suicide. Like, we'll put it up on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then, well, what do you do, man? Like, what does that do?
Yeah.
Except make somebody flip through and go, oh, no.
Yeah.
But what you're doing, I think, is very admirable, and you don't have to say anything. I'm just saying.
Oh, no. No, I mean, I feel fortunate that I can stand up and take a step, and that was the hardest thing. And I even remember at Matt's funeral, I know guys that he used to use with and do stuff, standing at the graveside, like snickering, almost like it was funny. It's like...
Let me tell you something. That happens at rehab centers. When I go, and these kids are young, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like 17, 18.
And they think it's funny.
They think it's funny, and they're like, yeah, we were shooting up, and remember Barry died. And then they're like, yeah. And I'm like, but you know what I found in addiction? People that do that internally. Because I had it to a level of, I'm a comedian. So like, right. If you're not laughing, you're crying. So I'd make fun of things and people be like, why is he making fun of that? And I'm like, because I am so hurt inside. Right. Like, I'm so hurt that if I don't do this, I have to face it.
You're assigning a feeling to it.
Yeah, you're assigning so it's this weird, and then people try to compartmentalize.
Well, I'm good at that.
Me too. I've become so good at it. Like, I can take that and put you in a box.
Yeah.
But if I don't let it out at some point, that box just keeps, until it just, and
explodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have gotten mad at God for so much less than what you've been through, right? Like, especially when I was drinking, like, why me? Why would you do this to me? How can this happen? Everyone was doing stuff to me. And I was mad at God for stuff that really was my fault. For something that's not your fault. What was that relationship like during this whole process?
I was fortunate that I had a good church support women's group, Susie being one of them, and I was involved in that. I lived in a place where my sisters still were there, my parents were still there, and so I had a lot of support. But we moved like 6 months afterwards, and I had nobody. And actually, it was probably one of the best things that happened to me because I didn't have anybody. I had Arnie, but he was working and traveling a lot back then. And he knew I was hurting, but he doesn't know the depths, except for my daughter always felt like, what's wrong with Mom? Doesn't she love me? Because, she's having all these emotions. But I did some out loud yelling at God, and I didn't want to live. I really didn't. I didn't want to live, and I couldn't figure it out in my head. But of course, so. I did.
It's okay to scream at God.
Oh, I believe me. And I have to say, though.
I mean, you definitely believe if you're screaming at Him, right?
Well, and that was in an empty barn by myself. I just said, I can't do it. You're going to have to figure it out for me. And that's probably the second out loud yelling prayer like that I had with God. And, it seems like He answers those. Right. Like really almost just as dramatically as the yelling at Him.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of going through the motions. I couldn't walk. Arnie, him, type A. Oh, well, we have this barn, so we might as well get horses. And no, I don't want a horse. I've already had a neck injury. I don't want to do that. Oh no, we have to. So I go along with it. And then I realized, well, now I have these horses. I have to get up and take care of them. And that's how God used that. I said, wow. You're going to have to figure it out. And and since those 3 horses came, I had to get out of bed, but people started showing up in my life. People like me, or people who were having problems with their kids, people whose parents were dying. People would just say, have you loved horses all your life? And I'd say, no.
I was forced into this love.
I didn't start riding until I was like 35. And then it's like, I didn't want anything to do with them. But I could tell them about Matt. And I guess that helped me probably as much as it helped them. And so, yeah, God answered that prayer in a different way. Now, between God and my husband and daughter, we live with like 40 horses.
Wow.
And lots of people in the barn, which is good.
Do you think that and this is kind of off topic, but do you think that horses, like for me, golf is my thing, right? So if I'm in a bad mood, I have the greatest wife in the world. She goes, go golf. She goes, when you come home, you're so much happier. And I think it's because when I play, it's the only thing I can focus on. I can't think about everything else. But then oddly, in a healthy way, some of the things that I didn't want to think about, I start thinking because I'm more relaxed. Did the horses kind of give you, like, you had to take care of them? I mean, it's like like giving somebody a rabbit for their birthday.
Right.
Like, what are you going to do with it? You either keep it or...
They're really safe. And a lot of people think horses have this magical thing. I just say God uses them however he needs to use them. And he did with me. And anyway, he did. I mean, and you can talk to him. Hard work. I mean, being sweaty and dirty is really a good thing. And
they're almost like, it's almost like the human condition. Like, they get real dirty and you got to clean them up a little bit, and then they are so gorgeous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like and it's also love.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
I mean, you have something to give your love to.
You have to check them at night before you go to bed. I had a horse named Blue, and I would go out and sing Blue Moon to him at night when I said goodnight. But
this is weird. Like, and this was a different situation, but I was a kid. My grandmother was like the heart and soul of our family, right? And I didn't know what to do with her passing away. So I used to sit on the back porch and I'd talk to her. And I don't care if people think I'm nuts. I got answers back. Like, I was praying to God. I wasn't praying to my grandmother. I was praying to God, and I was just like, Grandma, are you okay? Is Grandma okay? You know, like in a child mind, you know, like, but I had this light that I imagined that was coming straight out of my chest up into heaven.
Wow.
And I would get in this zone, because I've never been able to shut my brain down. So I get in this zone, but I got comfort with that.
Yeah.
I got comfort with talking to God in a deeper way, where it seems like when I'm in a lot of pain or I've done something really bad, I'm closer to God. Right? Like I can fling off a prayer. Char's story reminds us that loving an addict is not about fixing them. It's about showing steady, faithful love, even when they push you away. And trusting God doesn't mean pretending that everything's okay. It means handing him the pieces when your heart feels shattered. If you're fighting for someone today, keep praying, keep loving, and keep leaning on God's strength, because he loves them even more than we do. And come back next week for the second half of my conversation with Char, where we talk about the path her son took. And never forget this: if no one told you they love you today, I do, but more importantly, so does God.